Hi guys, welcome back to History Help for You. Today we're going to be starting on Elizabeth, looking at her character, sort of her aims, and how she consolidated her power. So one of the things she's sort of known for is being a virgin queen. However, she was quite intellectual as well, and we'll learn a lot more about that later on. She had a not very great childhood. As many of the Tudors did. Her mother was executed. There was a lot of disputes about the succession. At one point, she was written out of it entirely. And obviously, the whole thing with Northumberland, trying to change how succession works by putting Lady Jane Grey on the throne, was not, I don't really think she enjoyed that very much. And also being imprisoned for, not really doing anything. This helped to forge her cautious nature. And she also had a motto. I'm not going to try and pronounce that because I'm not going to butcher it. But it sort of shows how she was quite good at delaying decisions. So, she didn't kind of overcommit or undercommit so much. And, it kind of benefited her when it could. However, there were a lot of challenges when she came to the throne. First of all, the loss of Calais under Mary I. This was quite damaging, sort of prestige-wise. England had previously been allied to Spain. There were sort of questions about whether that would sort of continue, especially with Philip being a Catholic and and Elizabeth being a Protestant. That we'll learn more about when we do religion. And also that she had opposition to the throne from Mary, Queen of Scots, who will turn out to be quite a large thorn in her side. Financial crisis, the crown was bankrupt. There was a lot of inflation and military debts. So, just not in a very good situation, really. This is sort of exacerbated by religious division. You'd had a lot of back and forth, religion-wise, from going to Protestant to Catholic, and like that. And it's going to happen again with Elizabeth being a Protestant. However, she will also later face opposition from Protestants, that being more radical ones, like Puritans, who wanted further reform, whereas she kind of wanted to appease as many people as she could. And there's also a question about her gender, with people sort of questioning how she as a woman can rule. A big sort of person who was kind of involved with this was actually John Knox. He was a reformer in Scotland. We don't really look at him, but he actually was so opposed to the idea of female rulers that he actually wrote kind of a book about it, saying, that women were not allowed to rule and should not be able to rule. So yeah, a lot of people who were kind of deeply religious kind of had it out for her because she was a woman. Not very kind. So she had a lot of immediate aims, obviously. Essentially, she wanted to resolve all of the issues. Securing the throne against Mary, Queen of Scots, obviously, who had a claim to the throne. Rebuilding England's international reputation, especially from the loss of Calais. And also finding a way to truly establish the Tudor dynasty, or potentially trying to carry it on, which we know she's not able to do. Appease both sort of Protestants and Catholics in her religious settlements, and try and sort out the economic debt. So we're going to briefly cover the religious settlement, and then we're going to look a bit further in this when we cover religion. But this she did in 1559, so right at the start of her reign. Two key acts, that being the Act of Supremacy. This showed Elizabeth as supreme governor of the church, though she does not call herself the supreme head of the church. An Act of Uniformity. and this was kind of like all people have to pray, and religion is kind of uniform across everyone, so everyone has to sort of have the same sort of traditions and stuff like that. And it was predominantly Protestant doctrine. However, as we shall see, there's a mix of kind of things that appease Catholics. Obviously, it rejected papal authority. However, there was some sort of attempt to appease vestments. So priests were allowed to wear vestments, which were kind of like different clothing to kind of what traditional Protestantism was. That everyone had to wear something plain. And there still being a hierarchy in the church, and this showed she was kind of resisting far Protestantism in the form of Puritanism, and Catholic pressures. She was very good in her early acts in government. She appointed people that were good at their job, not because they were minted. One key guy, William Cecil, great guy, probably one of my favourites to learn about. She was able to manage Parliament quite effectively, and especially because there was kind of like resistance from the House of Lords to her religious settlement, she was still able to resolve it and essentially get what she wanted. And she was able to keep Mary Queen of Scots under observation. And attempted to secure the succession by kind of negotiating some marriage alliances. There were a lot of threats, as we shall come to see. These are all kind of in the later bits that we'll probably will discuss later on in more detail. Mary Queen of Scots, as we mentioned, the Pope, and the papacy as a general. Obviously, the Pope being Catholic, and Elizabeth being Protestant. They're gonna clash heads, and you also later have rebellions and plots to kill off Elizabeth and replace her. So sounds intriguing. And it's just a bit of a lesson summary. Established Elizabethan religious settlements. She was quite cautious, but she was quite good at getting what she wanted. We all learn at one point about her golden speech in 1601, where she kind of sucked up to everyone to get what she wanted. It worked very well. And we shall also, in later lessons, look at kind of the massive role that religion plays, in the sense that it intertwined with her kind of social policies, and kind of like rebellion, and also her foreign policy as well. So that is it for this one, guys, and I shall see you in the next video.